There are some bizarre things that I feed my chickens, and probably the most bizarre is cat food. I'm going to talk about a few others, but let's start there. Why do I feed my chickens cat food? I find it funny, every time I post a TikTok video about feeding chickens cat food, it always tends to get at least 100,000 views because people are so surprised or just find it weird or wrong. And there's a few reasons for that. One is that because most cat food contains chicken and people don't realize that chickens are actually cannibals. Chickens will eat chicken. You can feed them raw chicken, you can feed them eggs. If one of your chickens unfortunately dies and you leave the carcass there, your chickens will start eating the carcass. They don't care that birds typically will eat just about anything. But also it just seems bizarre or unhealthy. Is it? Well, not exactly. Cat food should be used as a supplement, and we'll talk about why in just a second, but let's talk about why it could be really unhealthy for them. One is the amount of sodium, especially if you're using a cheaper cat food, and also if you're using a lower end cat food, it actually defeats the purpose because they are really low in protein and full of a bunch of grains and stuff, so you have to buy a higher end cat food. But that's assuming you're giving your chickens cat food every single day as a staple food. It should not be used as a staple food. Your layer feed should be about 16 to 18% protein. But sometimes chickens need a little boost. If your chickens aren't laying a lot of eggs, if they're molting, going through a really cold winter where the sun is not out much, they're putting out a lot more energy than they normally do. So you can supplement their diet with cat food. Do you have to use cat food? No, there's tons of sources of protein out there, but cat food is a really cheap way to add protein without a lot of effort. But should you feed your chickens cat food year round? No, you should not, and here's why. When you supplement their protein, you're basically forcing their body to lay more eggs. So if you don't care about your chickens, feed them all the cat food you want. But me personally, I plan to keep these guys until they die naturally. So what happens is when you give them too much protein, they're putting out as many eggs as possible. When they're laying so many eggs, it puts a tax on their reproductive organs. Basically what you're doing is you're not getting more eggs out of the chicken. You see, chickens are born with a certain amount of eggs, and once they run out of eggs, they're out. You're forcing them to lay those eggs faster than they would naturally, which really puts stress on their body, so they'll die sooner, they'll get sick easier, and it's really not a healthy situation. So that's why I don't give my chickens cat food year round. I just give it to them seasonally or as a supplement. There's also other bizarre things that are healthy for chickens that you may not think of. One would be oyster shells. It doesn't cost much to buy a big bag of oyster shells like the one I have here. Why oyster shells? Well, oyster shells serve as a grit, which helps with digestion, and it also has a lot of calcium, which helps chickens lay denser shells when they lay their eggs. Now, if you have a layer feed, it probably already has oyster shells in it, so you just want this as a supplement. So what I do is I have a constant source of oyster shells in the coop so they can pick at it when they want oyster shells. I don't bother mixing it into their feed because they don't really eat it that much. Another cheap way to add a lot of healthy nutrition to your chickens is to grow microgreens. Microgreens will make you feel like you have a green thumb because they're so easy to grow. I'm really bad at it, so I started trying microgreens recently. Here we have arugula, and it's growing so easily. You're basically condensing all the nutrition in a full-grown arugula plant into a small little microgreen. So when your chickens are eating the arugula, it's really healthy for them. My suggestion for you is to get a little trash can and start putting compost in it. What the compost is gonna do is it's gonna attract bugs, and then you can feed those bugs to your chickens. Maybe there's a local restaurant close by to your house where you can say, hey, can I have your food waste? I wanna feed it to my chickens. And you give them some of that food waste, but also you don't wanna put all of it out because that's gonna attract rats. You put some of it out for them to eat, and then you put the rest in a bin. It's gonna attract bugs, and you know the cycle continues. You can also try vermicompost. You can buy like 200 worms off of Amazon. Just put them in a bin with some soil and food waste, and the worms will reproduce, and you can feed them to your chickens, and you also have a really good source of compost. I hope that helps you guys out. Thank you so much for subscribing to this channel. I know we're new here on YouTube. We're also on TikTok, up to 60,000 followers, which is just crazy. Anyways, I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.